Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Tanya Live. It's good to be back. Quite a week. The Jewish community had quite a week this week, and we will address that today as we get into Tanya. It feels good to be back with my friends here learning Tanya, and of course, good morning, Nikki. And of course, we'll start off by wishing everyone a good morning and hope everyone's feeling good, feeling okay. Give me a thumbs up so I know that you're, good morning from Italy. Yeah, give me a thumbs up if you're feeling happy to learn Tanya, put it that way. Happy to connect, happy to study, happy to be immersed a little bit in godliness in a world like today, where we need so much connection and reassurance. We're going to connect today, sort of this universal hug. Although we're all connecting through cyberspace and technology, we still need to give each other support. It's been one heck of a week, and we're all still struggling with how we are supposed to perceive this, how we're supposed to internalize. But a Jew can never get discouraged. A Yid always has to stay positive, and we're going to try to discuss that. How is that possible? How is that possible to stay positive in light of such a tragedy on Lag BaOmer? So I'd like you first to start off by putting down in the comments, sharing with me how you're feeling, how this week has been for you, how you are internalizing the news, the messages. Just share with me. I just want to know who I'm speaking to today. Who am I speaking with? Who's learning with us together, right? And then we will take out our Tehillim and our Tanya and tzedakah box, get all our bits and pieces together for our class. We'll start off always with tzedakah. Hashem, listen to the shuckling of the pushka. We give tzedakah every morning, and we will then get to our Tehillim. Everyone, if you have a Tehillim, great. If not, please put down any names that you want us to daven for. The first thing I want to mention is that we are going to daven for all those. There was about 100 people that have been very, very severely hurt, and we are going to daven for them so they should have a speedy recovery, because we can't have any more bad news. And we spoke so many times in Tanya that this world only sees Hashem's back. We don't see Hashem's glory. We started touching on it last week in Tanya when we said the two concepts of Memale Kol Almin and Misovev Kol Almin, that Hashem's light is very hidden in this world. Hence the word Olam, from the word Helem, hidden. Hashem is so hidden in this world, and we don't see how this could be good. But then again, we're just such small people. And we spoke in the chapters, in the early 40s chapters, of how Hashem is so much larger than us. And if we meditate on that, we realize that there's no way we could ever understand God's wisdom, God's actions. But we have to believe Hashem sees the bigger picture. But it still hurts so much. It still hurts so much. And yes, we do acknowledge that we just see the little glimpse of Hashem in this world, because Hashem did what we spoke about last week. Do you remember the word we spoke about last week? Tzimtzum. Hashem condensed himself and he made space for the Olam. But because he condensed himself, his true light, his true godly essence is very, very, very concealed from our world, and we don't see the godliness. It is not evident. And we alluded to the last week, Lahavdil, to the story of the Mona Lisa, that it was only in the space that was missing did we realize what was missing. And how true it is now that we don't see Hashem, His evidence, His greatness. We don't see His glory, His light. We just see the tragedy, we see the horror, we see the trampling, we see the orphans and the widows. We don't see what Hashem sees, because to Hashem this is good. There is purpose in this. But we are such small, simple people that we don't see that. So we are going to daven today for those that are still struggling. We are also going to dedicate today's class for those who perished, whose souls now are connected back to Hashem, and they of course are in a good place. We know they are. So we really have to pray for those that were left behind. And for Refuah Shalema, for Yitzchak Moshe ben Rachel Reza, who needs a tremendous, tremendous blessing for a speedy recovery. Miriam Reza, Shoshana Bas Henachana, Tikva Bas Kela, Yaakov Moshe ben Necha, Shol ben Devori, Yisrael ben Simcha Banim, Chana Bas Rivka, and Chana Bas Yehudis. Please Hashem, send Refuah Shalema to all of your children. And I want to read to you the mother of Azi Koltal, one of those who perished on Lag BaOmer. She writes, and you're going to get it because you are students of the Tanya, so you're going to appreciate this. She sends this out about those who just arrived in heaven after the tragedy at Meron. She says, in heaven a great fire is roaring, angels sway, and sages hold hands and sing, Amar Rabbi Akiva, Amar Rabbi Akiva. Where is the king of the night, the great sage Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai? He leaves the circle, he is shaking and shuddering. Whoosh! And at the entrance to heaven a clamor. Neshamas, souls start to fly inside. A yeshiva student, a singer from Muncie, a groom, two little brothers, a young father, another young father, a grandfather, a 14-year-old and his 9-year-old brother. The fire sputters, the song dies. Rabbi Shimon rushes over and embraces the souls. They blink in the light. They look at one another, disoriented, confused, bewildered, but filled with an immeasurable light. Come with me. Come, says Rabbi Shimon. Us? A Yerushalmi, a Litvak, a grandfather, a Chassid, a Mizrahi, a Sephardi, an Ashkenazi. They follow him, looking down, beyond the gaze and the clouds, where a large crowd is stranded on a bleeding mountaintop. Why us? Asks the 9-year-old. But they know each one of them. They have accomplished their goals. They feel light, whole. They can see the completion of their individual tafkid, their individual mission. Slowly the fire comes to light. They take hands again. The Barditcheve, the Bechafetz Chaim, Avram Avinu, David HaMelech, Avram Daniel Ambon and Moshe Bergman, Yonatan Chevroni and Yedidya Chiyos and Eliyahu Cohen and Yossi Cohen, and Simcha Bonim Diskin and Chen Doron and Moshe Mordechai, and Yosef David Elchad Sharf and Yehoshua and Moshe Natan Eglander, and Mordechai Yoel Feket, and Yedidya Asher Fogel, and Elazar Gefner and Shragi Gestetner, and Daniel Morris, and Eliezer Mordechai Goldberg, and Yosef Greenbaum, and Eliezer Tzvi Joseph, and Nachman Kirschbaum, Shmuel Tzvi Klagsbold, and Menachem Nobelowitz, Eliezer Yitzchak Koltai, and David Kraus, Shlomo Zalman Leibowitz, and Yosef Yehuda Levi, Yishai Meulam, and Moshe Levi, and Yosef Masterov, and Shimon Matlan, and Chaim Rak, and Yehuda Leib Rubin, and Chaim Ozer Seller, Moshe ben Shalom and Elkanah Shila and Chanoch Salod and David Steinmetz and Yaakov Elchanan Strakovsky and Yosef Amram Tauber and Ariel Tzadik and Moshe Tzafati and Menachem Asher Zekbach. All of them danced together. Light, unity, joy. Even as they dance, these newly arrived souls, even as they rise to the greatest heights, they see all the way down to those who don't understand, those who are pained, who stumble, who don't know why or what, those who still keep themselves distant from their brothers, those who stray. Amar Rabbi Akiva, the souls sing, and slowly a halting melody replaces the age-old song. A 10-year-old composed by one of among them, a song written by a 10-year-old son. Chamol, chamol, al amecha, rachem, 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 al nachlasecha. We have goodness and gladness and light, but have mercy on your children down below. Kol Tuv, written by a mother who lost her son. The souls up there see the light, they see Hashem. It's those of us down here. Hachai es yiten es libo. We have to think about those who passed, but we have to think about us, those who are here behind, and think, what kind of message did this tragedy in Meron mean to us? We have to take a lesson. We have to take a lesson. And in my very, very, very humble, because I am nothing to be able to give a message, but what I personally took to heart is that we have to connect more, and we have to judge one another with goodness and kindness and non-judgmentalism. We are siblings, and the outpouring of love, yeah, there are some naysayers, but that's not the bulk of the situation. The bulk of the world is crying together with those who are sitting Shiva this week, because Yisrael, the Jews, are one. We spoke about this in the first lessons of Tanya, that we are all part of one body. Each one of us is a different limb, a different muscle. We are all part of one. And when one hurts, the other is in pain. And that is how today we are crying for each other, but taking a lesson to grow, to do better, to pray more, to judge others less, to judge others in a favored light, to give, to care, to share. Hashem wants us to change and to grow. And I know that each one of us is taking upon ourselves very, very strong resolutions to keep growing, Mashiach is going to come. We're going to learn about that soon. We're going to learn chapter Chaf. We're going to read chapter Chaf together. Lamratzeach mizmor leDavid yancha adina b'yamtzara. Yisagefcha Shem Elahei Yaakov. Yishlach ezrecha mikodesh u'mitzion yisadeka. Yiskor kol mechasecha v'aloscha yidash nesela. Yiten lechocha v'vecha v'chol atzascha yimale. Nirana b'shuasecha v'Shem Eloheinu nitgol yimalei Adonai kol mashalasecha. Ata yadati ki Yoshia Adonai mishicho yaneu mishmekotcha b'gvuras yesha yamina. Ela varecha ve'ela vasusa v'anachnu b'Shem Adonai Eloheinu naskir. Hema karav v'nafol v'anachnu kamnu v'nisodad. Adonai Hoshia HaMelech Yanenu B'yom Karenu. Yes, internet is flooded with people's comments and opinions and observations and blessings and condolences. And I know there are some that are not very positive, but we as Jews have to focus on the achdus. Got to focus on the achdus that has been coming up. You got to look out and see the amazing achdus that is coming up now. And everybody wants to do more. Everybody wants to connect. Everybody is ready for some great revelations from Hashem. Hashem has to reveal something positive, because when he takes away souls, he has to reinstate goodness and kindness, and he has to reinstate us with hope. And we're going to discuss that in Tanya chapter 48 and 49. I bumped into someone this week while I was walking, I never knew she even watches Tanya. And she goes, Goldie, we're up to chapter 48. What are we going to do when we finish? I'm like, oh, you too watch Tanya? Et too? And she goes, of course, I don't miss a week. She's not one of those that comments, I don't know. But there are a lot of us that are learning and ready to grow and to do more. And I know that for those of us who are learning together, it has changed me. Tanya has changed me. Still a lot to improve, but I'm on the trajectory of growth. Tanya gives us a paradigm shift, and we can't be the same. You agree with me? After we learn Tanya, we can't be the same. There's no way we could learn the words of the Alter Rebbe, the Holy Reb Shner Zalman, and close our books and say, yeah, now I'll get on with our day. There is no way. There is no way that we are the same. We have changed, and thank goodness we are learning Chassidus. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, he was the author of Kabbalah. He was the founder of the Zohar. And the whole Chabad teachings, the whole Chabad movement is based on Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. So Lag BaOmer is a very, very important day for all of us who are studying Tanya. Is a very, very important and significant day. So we spoke last week about the concept of tzimtzum. You remember that? Anybody remember? What does the word tzimtzum mean? Do you remember? The word tzimtzum means condensation. Okay? Put it down if you remember the word condensation. Hashem compressed himself. He compressed his light so that he could create the world of Asiya, the world that we live in. And in this world, we don't see God. But when you study Torah, when you study Chassidus, you see God. You see God everywhere. You see God in every blade. You see God in every breath, in every baby, in every beautiful sunset. You see God. Some people call this nature. As Jews, we say this is God. And so as much as God condensed and removed himself, so there was space for us to have the ability to have bichira chavshit, to have free choice. Because remember, if God was here, if God's light was so obvious, then there would be no freedom of choice. But because God is hidden, because he condensed and removed himself and made this whole, but we're going to learn two new verses today, two new words, and you could write them down because we're learning a lot of phrases in Tanya. There's mimale kol almin and misovev kol almin. Mimale kol almin is the expression we use when we say Hashem's light. He shines in the world, but very, very vaguely. Very vaguely. We don't see it clearly and obviously. But his light is misovev kol almin. Around the world, his light, away from his that empty space, all surrounded there, that's godliness. And that's very, very obvious. But in this space, we don't see God obvious. And we have to fill this empty space with godliness. That's our job. That's our tough kid. We have to find the opportunities to fill the world, this empty space, but fill it with godliness. But God did it in such a way that it feels like it's coming from us. I'll give you an example. How many of you have ever heard of Yehuda Avner? Give me a thumbs up. How many of you have heard of Yehuda Avner? Anybody? He was an ambassador. He was a dignitary. He was actually a advisor to 5 presidents. I think he wrote a book called the five prime ministers, right? He wrote a book and there was a movie based on the 5 ministers. That's his That's who we're talking about today, Yehuda Avner. He was a prime minister to Goldie Meir, Levi Eshkol, Yitzchak Rabin, Yehuda Begin, and Shimon Peres. 5 prime ministers. And it was in 1977 when he was working, I think it was for Begin that year, and Begin told him to come to the Rebbe to share some of the things that are going on to Israel. Every single time a prime minister would come to visit to America, they would always visit the Rebbe. And of course, when their advisors or ambassadors would come, they would also pay a visit to the Rebbe because he wanted to hear the Rebbe's opinion on what's going on in Israel, etc. So Yehuda Avner is sitting by the Rebbe, and I say sitting, which is very unusual because most people did not sit in front of the Rebbe, but the Rebbe asked him to sit down, and he sat on the side. The Rebbe sat, let's say here, he sat on the left side of the Rebbe, and he was giving over some of the things that are going on in Israel and some of the reason for his visit to America. And then he asked the Rebbe said, so when are you going to join the ranks? And he said something about, I don't need a crutch. And the Rebbe said to him, a Rebbe is not a crutch. Judaism is not a crutch. What is Judaism? And the Rebbe gives this analogy. The Rebbe says, look at the shelf. And there was a candle. So he says to Yehuda Avner, what's that? So he says, and I think I mentioned this story before, and he says, that's a candle. He goes, no, it's not a candle. What is that? So Yehuda's thinking, wait, I'm a pretty intelligent guy. Like I'm advisor to a prime minister. I think that's a candle. The Rebbe says, no. That's a lump of wax attached to a wick. And it's not a candle until it's lit. And the job of a Rebbe and the job of Torah is to give us a match. We have to light our own candle. Judaism is not a crutch. Judaism gives you the ability to light up your candle. The wax is the body, the neshama is the wick. And some of us have a body which we can see, but we're not so sure if we have a wick. How do you see the wick? I don't see a wick. I look like everyone else. What are you talking about, a wick? But when you do Torah and mitzvot, that's the match. And then you light up the person. So why am I sharing with you this analogy? Because this is the whole idea of Tzimtzum. The world looks right now like all it has is wax and wicks. Wax and wicks. It's the name of a good store. Wax and wicks. But nothing comes out of that unless you find a match. I have a thing for candles. In my house, there's lots of aromatherapy candles going on. Ask my kids. Every room, every guest room has one. I love the look, the smell, the atmosphere that candles create. But there's sometimes I'm running frantically around the house, can't find a match. Have you ever happened to you? And it's like, oh my gosh, where are the matches? And it's like, $1 a box of matches. Why can't I have more matches in the house? But if you don't have that match, if you don't have the Torah mitzvahs, that candle stays a lump of wax. And the connection of the two never actually comes into fruition. So it's up to me and you to take the wick and to take the wax and combine them with a match by lighting that match. And in a similar vein, teachers do the same thing. They don't feed the children everything. A good teacher allows the students to come up with their own ideas, to ask the right questions. You know, the story of the Jewish mother when the child went to school and all the kids come back and all the kids are like, did you answer the questions? Did you answer the questions? Did you get a good mark? Did you get a good mark? And one parent says to the child, did you ask a good question? We have to ask the questions because that's going to be able to give us the opportunity to learn on our own, to expand and experience, and then take ownership of our Torah, ownership of our mitzvahs, ownership of what we need to use to grow. Tzimtzum also means to be hidden. God's revelation is hidden, right? And in a similar vein, when you go to a Jewish wedding, what's the first thing when we come to a wedding? We see the bride is sitting there, and the first custom is that the groom covers the bride. What's that all about? Covering the bride? Shouldn't he uncover the bride to see who he's marrying? But this simple act is another act of tzimtzum. By him covering the bride, they're both vouching to each other by saying, not everything that you see is coming into the marriage. There's a lot of tzimtzum. There's a lot of contraction. There's a lot of hiddenness that you are not going to see. And it's going to take a while for us to uncover our spouse. And hopefully it takes forever. Because there always has to be some part of mystique in a relationship. If we know everything, there's nothing left to uncover or to discover or explore. In a relationship, the most beautiful part of relationship is that there's always discovering more of your spouse and giving the spouse an opportunity to be hidden. You know, Manis Freeman, the great Hasidic philosopher, always says, that's one of the greatness of the mitzvah of the 12 days of separation between a spouse. We allow a spouse to keep some of their tzimtzum. Not everything is revealed. There is this privacy. And during those 12 days, it is rude and inappropriate to invade the privacy of the spouse. Every spouse needs their space. And there is no greater message of tzimtzum than in a marriage. And in parenting as well. Allowing space for another. You know, there are some spouses, and I know some homes, where the mother takes over everything. You walk into the house, you hear her voice. She's commenting on everything and everybody. Don't put your shoes here, don't put your coat there, go put this, peel this, do your homework, go upstairs, make your bed. It's like, leave space. Like, don't take up the whole energy of the house. Your husband needs space too. Don't micromanage everyone and everything in your house. Just step aside sometimes. Those are the healthiest homes, where you're there, but you're not in everyone's face. And maybe that was Hashem's message to us. There's so many messages, because everything Hashem did in this world is a message for you and me. Hashem created a world like his marriage. He said, I'm not going to take over the space. I'm not going to keep my shoes here, my tie there, my underwear there, my trousers there, my toothbrush here, my brush there, my hat here, my makeup here, my coat there, my briefcase here. Everything is everywhere. Allowing space for another. Wow. The ability to get into a marriage and know that you don't have to be everywhere. You don't have to micromanage your family all the time. Giving space to grow, giving space to be, allowing for a spouse to have downtime and respecting that. That's tzimtzum, the ability to make space. And until we allow another to take up space, we won't be able to have healthy, wholesome marriages. Do you agree with me? Do you see what I see? Hoping always that our spouse is going to change. right? What do we learn about Yira and Ava? What do we say? The importance of Yira. The ability to respect in a marriage is even more important than what? What do we say? That Yira comes before Ahava. The ability to respect one's space and someone else's space. Acknowledge the presence, but allow for the space, for the tzimtzum. How important it is. Wow. And think about a mother. What does a mother do for 9 months? Put it down in the comments. What does a mother do for 9 months when a baby is forming in her womb? What is going on? Yeah, you got it. Tzimtzum. She is contracting herself, giving space for her newborn baby. And she's giving up a lot of herself. Heartburn, varicose veins, headaches, nausea. Can we talk about what we give up? What do we give up to bring children into the world? Connecting. Good. Exactly. We are giving up and allowing space for another. The ultimate symptom is what we as women do. We won't go on to how much afterwards we do. Breastfeeding our babies around the clock, giving up nights. For what? To bring another holy soul into the world. The ultimate sacrifice that mothers give. Sure, we get back. We get back unconditional love. We get back children. We get back nachos. We get continuity. What else do we get by bringing children into the world? Is it worth it? Of course. But let's still call a spade a spade. It's symptom. It's giving space. You know, the beautiful story of that child that was playing hide and seek with his friends. And he hid himself in a really good spot. And after about an hour, he realizes that no one's finding him. So he comes out and he finds his dad sitting and he goes, "Daddy, I don't understand. I'm hiding and no one found me." And the father said, "Yeah, they gave up already on you." He goes, "What do you mean?" "You were hidden so well that they stopped playing the game." I think today, as we're struggling with what happened in Iran, in Israel, we say to Hashem, "You're hiding yourself so well." Some of us are giving up. Where are you, Hashem? I know this is a world where you are hidden, Helem. We know that you're hidden. But don't hide yourself so well that we shouldn't see you at all, that we give up. We give up playing the game. And this is why we have to cry out, Hashem, send us already Mashiach, where the world can be Mesovev Kol Almin, where your light can fill the world, where it's enough of that Tzimtzum and hiddenness and Helem and Golos. Take that Gola, that exile that we're in, and put in your Aleph, Hashem. We'll put in the Aleph, you put in the Aleph, and please send us Mashiach. Wishing you all a great day, and let's do more mitzvot in honor of those who need a refuah shlema. See you again next week.